The development of what we call the southern region was assisted by the creation of Maryland. The colony is the first proprietary colony, which means it's not owned by a joint stock company and it's not owned by the king or the government. Rather, it's owned by an individual. After a bit of a political dispute, the first Lord Baltimore was granted a charter by the king. Now, the religious tensions in England at the time play a bit of a role in this. There was a bit of a political fallout, and the first Lord Baltimore converted to Catholicism. The issue here is that England was a Protestant nation, and while later they're going to have some freedom of religion, there was a lot of tension dealing with this. The first Lord Baltimore was not granted the charter. He was actually he died before the charter was granted. His son got it, intending this to be a refuge for English Catholics. Now, they also wanted the colony to be profitable. So while they were able to pass the Acts of Toleration, which tolerated all Christians, the majority of the population was Protestant. The land was sold to English Protestants so that they would go on to grow tobacco. Noticing the problems of the first Virginia colony, Maryland tried to overcome some of them. First of all, rather than just sending young men, they tried to send families. This would have more permanent settlement and colonization ability. They also wanted to create fortified towns, which would be able to defend against the Native Americans a little bit better. And lastly, they wanted to avoid the extremes of Virginia in terms of wealth. So rather than have a government that was based mainly on the wealthy property owners, the government tried to do justice to everyone. Now, the Maryland colony was much more successful, partially because tobacco was a focus from the very start, and also because the family units were able to provide more stability. Eventually, the freedoms for the Catholics are taken away because the Protestant population, the majority population, took those rights away from the minority. We see that that's going to be a theme that comes back over and over again. But when the American Revolution does come, then Maryland is able to re-implement some of that religious freedom.